You kept telling me mash the potatoes. I was trying to help you. I mean, like, how many times did I have to say that? Had a 47 1/4 tool pork chicken. Yeah. Trevor. Yeah, he got that big pork chicken, so he sprayed last night all night. So take the pork chicken and not too bad. He could take last week. So the bigger ones are cheaper. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, the bigger ones. These are the bigger ones because they were having a hard time with the small ones. And his came in and they were like, fresh ground. They're planning on it.
Good, man.
Yeah.
That's what they used to all be planning on. Now I see. Do ground.
I mean, he always enjoys coming out there with that show off. Too bad he won't let you in.
All right, it's that time. You ready? Okay. All right. Where did it again? All right. Well, welcome to this June 3rd, 2024 meeting. Love to see a full house in here, so everybody can hear what's going on. Mr. Newton is going to lead us in a prayer, and Miss Langford's going to lead us in a pledge.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for the blessing to live in this community. Lord, I pray that as we go into this meeting, Lord, that the things that we do will be pleasing to you, that our actions will reflect you. Lord, help us to make good decisions that will be pleasing to you and good for our community. Just be with our first responders, help protect them as they protect us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Address the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Good to see, as I said, good to see everybody here today. We're going to go ahead and get right in. Do we have any agenda changes?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if can, I'd like to add to my agenda, Jenny Springs, and we'll add that at the top of my agenda. That'll be the first item on my agenda today.
All right. Any other additions to the agenda?
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
I have none.
All right.
Motion approved agenda with noted change.
All right.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda with the noted change. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion carries. I will like to say Mr. Langford is not with us today. I think y'all can see that. He had a prior arrangement, so he was not able to be with us today. But we will go on with the four of us and see if we can't get through this thing. All right, you had a chance to read the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, there's a motion to approve the consent agenda
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Smith. Any questions? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, the motion carries. All right, we will move into our part of public participation. If you are here today and you would like to address the board on some subject that is not on the agenda, then we invite you to come up. You get 3 minutes to tell us what's going on, and we'll listen to you. And then at the end of the meeting, there'll be another chance for you to speak also. So if a question comes up and you stay to the end of the meeting, there'll be a public participation part at the end of the meeting. If you're already on the agenda, we'd like you to wait until we get to your part on the agenda. Any public participation? Yes, sir. Come on up to the podium if you would and tell us your name, please. Mr. Bailey?
And I'm with the Democratic Party here in Gilchrist County.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to address you this afternoon. Thank you very much. I'm not here to dissuade you of your beliefs, views, or opinions, but rather to express our concerns as to the accuracy, therefore validity of Resolution 2024-12. The proper title is Amendment to Limit Government Interference with Abortion. If approved in November, it would be added to as Article 1 of the Florida Constitution as follows. Except as provided in Article 10, Section 22, no law shall prohibit, penalize, delay, or restrict abortion before viability or when necessary to protect the patient's health as determined by the patient's healthcare provider. More on Article 10, Section 22 later, and in the interest of time, speaking only to letters A, C, and D in the resolution. In A, yes, organizations help close to 1 million Florida voters put the amendment on the ballot. This extreme is limiting and regulating healthcare. Moving on to C, which states the wording in Amendment 4 is intentionally deceptive. This seems based on A.G. Moody's unsuccessful argument before the Florida Supreme Court, while omitting the court's ruling that, quote, it cannot be said that the ballot summary will mislead voters regarding the actual text of the proposed amendment. In April 2024, the court approved Florida Amendment 4 to be placed on the November 2024 ballot because it adequately satisfied a set of requirements, and they ruled it was not deceptive at all. In D, stating that the amendment would abolish the legislature's power to regulate the abortion industry is inaccurate. The amendment begins, except as provided in Article 10, Section 22, no law. Article 10, Section 22 says, notwithstanding a minor's right of privacy provided in Section 23, Article 1, the legislature is authorized to require by general law the notification of a parent or guardian of a minor before the termination of the minor's pregnancy. In conclusion, our goal has been to introduce additional information that would allow you to reconsider Resolution 2024-12. Floridians believe that the government should stay out of private medical decisions. Amendment 4 puts the decisions back in the hands of patients and their doctors by prohibiting the government from blocking needed care when the patient's health is at risk. Floridians trust their doctors, not politicians, to support them in making the best decisions for themselves, their bodies, and their families. We rely on you to do your best to unite our community. Taking a stand, especially an underinformed one, only serves to divide our county and country. We ask that you move to reconsider your support of Resolution 2024-12. Thank you very much for your time and attention. And thank you for the work you do every day to make life better in our country.
Well, thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
coming up and speaking, and it'll be up to everybody else if they want to reconsider it, but I thank you for bringing that to us.
Thank you very much.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thank you. All right, any other public participation? All right, then we will move on to our county administrator's report. I don't see any constitutional officers that wish to speak real quick. Bobby? Okay. All right, then we'll move on to our county administrator's report.
Yes, sir. My report starts under number 6, general. As you know, we amended the my agenda for Jenny Springs. Ms. Taylor Stiles is here from Jenny Springs today and would like to address the board.
Good afternoon. We are deeply concerned and upset about the incidents that took place during Memorial Day weekend in the lives of those impacted. We recognize that we must take action to ensure a safe environment for guests and staff. Today, our primary objective is to listen. Second, we would like to share the initial changes that we have begun taking to enhance park safety and security. And note that many measures will be in effect prior to the 4th of July holiday. To begin, we are implementing a new policy to limit the number of park guests both day and overnight admissions. We are strengthening our working relationship with law enforcement. We have begun the process of reaching out to Gilchrist County Sheriff's Office and the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. And we are committed to regular meetings with law enforcement where we can share information and develop joint safety strategies. Next, we plan to increase staffing during holiday weekends, events, and other busy times. We are in the process of identifying a third-party expert to review and help further strengthen our security measures. We are taking steps to better inform and educate park guests about park rules and policies by posting additional signage at the entry and throughout the property. We will provide our employees with additional training and support. Please know, we remain grateful to everyone who responded to the last week's incident, including law enforcement, staff, and our guests. We are dedicated to implementing immediate and near-term steps to improve safety at Jenny Springs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yep, you come up and tell us your name if you would, please.
Thank you, sir. My name is Matson Cox.
Okay.
I'm her counsel. I want to thank you all for your time this afternoon. I know it is important for you all to have heard from the owners of Jenny Springs, and I know it is also important to respect the integrity of what remains an ongoing investigation in this matter. And due to that investigation, we are unable to comment any further at this time. We will, however, share updates with you on the actions that are being taken and the future measures to improve the park and security.
Well, thank you very much.
Your name was, sir?
Matson?
Matson.
Cox is spelled C-O-X-E.
And who are you with? You with your own firm?
The firm is Rogers.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
If I may,
Yeah.
and I'm going to ask Mr. Lane if he will to comment as well at this time. Mr. Lane and I spoke a little bit, spoken with different staff, different departments, and a lot of things happened Memorial Day weekend, as Ms. Skiles.
Let me stop him just a moment. I think people are having difficulty hearing.
Can't hear me? Can you hear me now? Is that better? Can you turn it up?
This is how it will go.
They have a new microphone system and they're trying to get used to that, so it should be on a constant feed.
Is that any better? Okay,
Thanks.
sorry about that. How about now? Okay. What I was commenting on is a lot of things happened on Memorial Day weekend that was very tragic. I don't know all the details, so I won't be commenting on any of that. We've talked with different departments, different staff. I spoke with Mr. Lang as well. And I know it was kind of hard to hear and apologize for that, but as Ms. Giles stood up here and spoke, I think they're looking to try to work with the county and plan to work with the county, and they are reaching out to expert advice of legal counsel and different people to try to come up with a resolution so that these problems don't exist any longer and put a burden on them as well as the county's public safety needs. What I would like to do, and after talking with Mr. Lane and speaking with Ms. Patrice Boyes, you are very familiar with Ms. Boyes, if the board would agree, we'd like to engage with her as well to represent the county, just because she understands the private property laws, the county government laws, and all the different mechanisms that would put this together to maybe work with the county and also work with them just as negotiation purposes to maybe to come up with a resolution that would work for the county and for Jenny Springs, so we don't have these situations any longer. I think one of the things that would need to happen is Ms. Boyes would need to meet with our staff that was there personally and witnessed it so that she could find out from them what they're trying to find and what they're trying to get accomplished and get done. And then maybe on behalf of the county, she can take that message, or we could be staff meetings and meet with the staff of Jenny Springs and the owners and their council to try to come up with a very collective agreement that works for everyone.
I think that's a great idea. I was glad to see, Jenny has already taken some proactive movements to limit crowds and try to increase their signage and some things like that. I was very, very glad to hear that. Of course, we're very sorry that the incident that happened this last weekend, it's not good for us, it's not good for them, and so we do want to try to limit it. So I think going with Ms. Boyd and letting, her work with them and work with us to come up with some good solutions is a great idea.
Yeah, I think the sheriff wanted to say something.
Good afternoon, Bobby Schultz, Sheriff Gilchrist County. You know, I'm deeply saddened and I'm deeply frustrated with the events that happened on Memorial Day. And rather than go backwards, I'm encouraged by what I've heard from the ownership of Jenny Springs. What I would ask the board to do is if any discussions as far as procedures going forward, since it is listed beyond the Gilchrist County Sheriff's Office, we're included in any discussions and we're allowed to have our input as to what we feel is adequate and just be included.
Yeah, most certainly.
I agree.
And also, EMS needs to be involved also.
And I would,
There's discussion.
if I heard Ms. Stiles correctly, they have some plans going forward into July 4th. I would ask that these meetings be done quickly. Because I have a lot of people in this county that count on me for protection and answers. And I would like to be able to give them some solid information before the 4th of July weekend. I don't anticipate problems, but I never anticipate the problems we have on Memorial Day either. So if we could expedite those meetings, I sincerely appreciate it. And I think the citizens of Gilchrist County would appreciate it.
Yeah, I think, Sheriff, probably goes without saying, but we all appreciate what you and your staff did there and as well as what you do on a normal day-to-day basis. And that goes for our fire rescue. We appreciate that very much. And I think an idea would be to have a working group that would include representatives from your office, maybe fire rescue, our county administrator, our legal with Mrs. Patrice Boyce, and then also include Jenny Springs as we move forward. And so I appreciate them coming and also working and being proactive to try to respond. So, thank you.
And something we just need to keep focused on, we have victims, and we need to keep the primary focus on, we had murderers come into Jenny Springs. It was their act and their act alone that caused this. We need to work together to make improve the situation, but people need to remember that they killed somebody. They're the one that did it. They came to our community. They created this habit, and justice will be served. But I appreciate y'all's attention on this. Being proactive is what you have, and you should be talking to me about your concerns. We'll get this figured out, but we need to work together. And on this meeting, Mr. Crosby, if I could have, obviously Sheriff's Office will be there, but I'll have my legal representation and Lindsay Langer, if you don't mind having.
Sure. Yeah, the plans are, if the board was to, if the board approves to go with Ms. Patrice Boyce, is to set up a working group by contacting, of course, the Sheriff's Department and you appointing whoever you want to be there. Also with fire EMS, and then also probably myself and Mr. Lang will be there as well, and Mr. Landers can be there, of course, whoever you want to appoint, and we'll start off that way. And because we want to be sure that everything is represented, so that when we speak with the owners of Jenny Springs as well, and I think they are trying to make improvements as well, that we cover everything and don't leave something out. So.
And thank you for your work on it.
Yeah, we definitely have to, make this place, it has to be a safer place. And we also have to make it better for the residents who live out there. It's not fair for them, with all the, with everything going on and them trying to leave their home and go back to their home with the traffic and all the music going on all hours of the night. But something I want to find out is, and maybe Chief Campbell can answer this, with the fire and EMS that, let's just say work that weekend, do we get reimbursed or for 100% of that, or the taxpayers having to also pay some of that?
Chief Campbell Fire Rescue, we enter into an agreement with them every year for all of the staffing, that we provide out there. We bill $150 an hour for every ALS ambulance. Every year we work through and figure out, how many staffing we're gonna have and what days we're gonna have them there. And $150 an hour more than covers for the services that we put out there.
So that covers labor, gas and,
Very, very much so. We increased that, if you remember, I think it was 2017 or 2018, I came to you. I think we were charging 110, but we didn't have anything that I had ever seen in the fee schedule. We added that to the fee schedule at 150 an hour for any special detail for EMS units. And they do every Memorial Day weekend. We have something we go through, we meet with them. We have constant communication with them even after that too, to kind of see what worked, what didn't. Most recently, the last 2 years, we've added Monday on there as well too, because we seem to get a couple calls on Monday afternoon, people are leaving. And they've been very open to that. Most of that was done, through the manager and directly with Mark. But the girls have been great as well as working with us on that and haven't made any changes. EMS wise, we've had decent coverage out there each year. And that includes some of that coverage even helps us. We have people staffing at the Spring Ridge Fire Station that are outside of the park. If in fact a 911 call comes in Spring Ridge subdivision, they're available to run on that as well too. Not all of our assets are just sitting straight in the park, and that covers all of that as well.
okay.
All right, well, great. Thank you very much.
Sheriff, do we have a similar agreement? You have a similar agreement that supports your deputies, or?
We do, and I think that when we all meet together, and I think we need to revisit everything.
Yes.
Right, I
We need
agree.
to start from scratch.
I agree.
Figure out how we're gonna mitigate these problems and all keep everybody as safe as possible. I mean, I think we all would agree that we're all frustrated.
Yes.
And, it's gotta get better. It's gonna get better. It's gonna get better. But I believe if all of us are working, the one team, one mission concept applies here. If we're all working together to make this community a safe place to live and work and then visit, I believe that we can do that. Listening to Ms. Stiles and council, sounds like that they're amicable to working with everybody, and that's a big piece of it. And let's see if we can't put words into action. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for action. And with that, all those other stuff, what level of law enforcement and fire service and all, I think we could probably get that during these meetings and come up with something that's acceptable for the citizens of Gilchrist County, something we can handle and keep people safe. That's the ultimate goal.
I think all of us are getting calls related to concern for the county roads, the safety of our county roads. The noise, we hear that some as well. The burden on you all in our fire rescue. So I think all of that being evaluated and improving is what we're looking for. So we appreciate it.
The time has come. It's time to get this thing fixed.
And with that many people, it's a recipe for disaster. With that many people out there at one time, with what's going on out there, we've got to do something. So looking forward to seeing what the plan is.
So it sounds like, again, from what the scout says, we're looking at the capacity and seeing that we can't come up with something that we can all live with, we can all give safety. So that's a lot of the battle. And if Jenny Springs Outdoors is willing to work with us, and obviously we're in the business of helping.
Absolutely, yes.
I need a motion from the board to allow me to reach out to Ms. Boyce to retain her to assist us with this process. And then what Ms. Boyce will do, dependent upon your motion here in a few moments, she'll reach out to Mr. Cox and they'll set up a time to get together. And then we can have a collective collegiate approach with all the other parties that are involved. But that's the first step in the thing.
So you want to do a separate motion?
I think we need one motion for the county to retain Ms. Boyce to assist us in negotiating with Jenny Springs, about some parameters and some guidelines out there. That would be the first step.
Okay.
So I would make a motion that we do that. You don't want to include also the working group as part of that, or you think that's needed to be separate?
You can, but traditionally, I don't think the attorneys are going to want to meet with the working group until they meet with each
Okay.
other and kind of
Yeah.
establish their own kind of guidelines. Then invite the sheriff and EMS and all them to have a
After,
larger meeting, because Ms.
after Ms.
Boyce,
Boyce
like
gets
I
on
say, has
board,
not
then-
been retained at this particular time. I reached out to Rogers Tower myself personally on Friday, talked to Mr. Scrooby up there at, Rogers Tower. Then I talked to Patrice as well, and Patrice is waiting to hear back from how the board wanted to proceed with this and how you wanted her to deal with the issue and with the collective group and the issues with the citizens and all the parties that are involved. So I don't know if you want to have one first meeting without them speaking with themselves together first, but that will come before the 4th of July. As Bobby pointed out, we'll get that sooner rather than later, but
we can get
that's
to
what
that
I
in
need
a
is
second.
permission
We
to
can-
contact.
We can move right on. with
I mean,
it.
we may not have it 100% worked out by 4th of July weekend, but we need to have as much as we can worked out before then.
Second.
We have a- All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Smith and a second by Commissioner, Kendrick, Mr. Thomas, to, receive Ms. Boyce as our, attorney for the,
Authorize me to.
authorize Mr. Lang to work with her,
Mhm.
on this, on the Jenny Springs Committee.
Yep.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, so, hopefully we will hear very shortly some of the things that they're considering. Great to hear that they're already being proactive and working on some things. Hopefully we can get this thing all back under control and be safe for everybody. My heart goes out to those families that did lose someone this past weekend. It's a tragic when you listen to the news, and it's not just happening here, it's happening everywhere. But, my heart goes out with the families, and hopefully we can keep it from happening again. All right, we can move on to, General Romar's statement of support.
Yes, sir. Mr. Ryan Reddy, and I believe I saw him here. There he is. Mr. Ryan Reddy, he is the, one of the owners and operator of Romer Wireless Broadband, which you know that they won some of the areas in the county for broadband. We recently approved a lease agreement on 2 towers for them to place equipment. And then we'll have the 3rd tower after this tonight, to approve for them to place equipment. He has came to us and one of the things that he's doing, he needs towers in a couple of additional places. One of those being down here, fairly close at the sheriff's department. And we have a tower that needs to be replaced. It's just an older type antenna tower, not anything of any real commercial grade. And then also up at our 138 fire station. Would you like to tell them what you're proposing?
Sure. So Ralph called me a few weeks ago, indicating that as they're upgrading their radio system, they're not able to support some of the equipment that they need to be able to support here at the sheriff's office on the 90-foot amateur radio tower that exists there presently. One of the things that we're able to do under the terms of our grant is that we made a commitment that we would do anything we can to support the community, as part of our partnership to work together to extend broadband services, get that utility out for people. One of those things that we highlighted was that we can offer either tower space and joint tower use, as well as utility pole space and joint utility pole use. So for the sheriff's department, we're proposing a 130-foot utility pole that is built to support all of the equipment for the communications equipment that they have, as well as the equipment we use for extending broadband utility service. I believe we have a drawing of a similar, this is a similar pole actually right here. One of my colleagues has been doing these in Arkansas in the right of way. And it is a single-use utility pole for broadband service only, but it can support radio antennas. There's also a drawing included if you're curious how they work through the directions that in the ground. Sorry, this one's a little weird.
So it's not as massive a tower as we see a lot of these, cell phone towers and stuff like that. It's more of a big, huge pole.
Yes, these are single-use poles, just like the ones you see on 26. If you're driving down 26, you see
Right.
hundreds of them.
Okay.
Same exact scenario for this type of installation. And the base of these is about 24 to 30 inches. If these were carrier-grade multi-tenant actual towers, they'd be much taller, and the base would be more like 6 feet wide. They would be huge. So that's what we were proposing for the sheriff's office, to minimize the footprint there and to get them the support they need for the radio equipment there. The other item that we've included is for a true tower on the fire station that's up on 138. We've actually looked at it a few times with Chief Campbell and Ralph. I'm sorry, this is another example of one. That's actually a 200-foot actual tower though, so I included it as a comparison. Much different, still slim and sleek.
So Ryan, the pole then would be the county's, the county would own the pole, or how
So
would that
we
work?
would get an easement or some kind of a lease on the space where the pole would be installed. We would own it, and we would have that term defined in that lease or easement. And we would offer.
So if
our
anything ever
support.
happened and you decided to not be here, we would take our equipment off? No?
No, interest would vest to the county, to the property.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you, sorry.
Well, can I say? a couple
Yeah.
things? There are a couple of issues that are involved here, because we do permit towers and they're considered a development of major impact, require an SUP and a site plan approval.
Yes.
And you're familiar with that, so.
Yes, and the second item, it falls under that category.
Yes, and the first one you thought could be handled under an emergency situation, emergency operations for the sheriff's department, is that?
From a legal standpoint, there's two criteria that it meets. One,
Well, one thing troubled me with this was that it said that this would be a partnership agreement, and there's a prohibition in the Florida Constitution about pledging credit. We can't take on private partners, so maybe if we could do some sort of contractual relationship in return for you installing the tower, we give you the space and the easement you're speaking
that
of.
is the intention. I'm not sure where the partnership.
Well, I highlighted it. We propose the following partnership agreements,
Understood.
and they're not partnership
Okay.
agreements because we're
So
not
the state
allowed.
calls it a public-private partnership under the grant program, and so
Okay.
that is the language that has been given to us by the state of Florida. So
Yeah.
that's the language we use, so it's fine. It can be a
Okay,
contract.
that's on your May 23rd,
So,
2024 proposal.
Yes,
That's what I'm-
so it
what
can
I'm
be a
getting at.
lease, it
But
can be a license, or it can be an easement.
Correct, that's right, but I was just concerned that maybe you weren't familiar that we did have to go through that special use permit and site plan approval process like we do with Verizon and Alltel and all those.
I believe that
I mean, AT&T.
that, the second item falls under that category,
Mhm.
yes, for sure. The first item, I don't believe falls under that category.
We're gonna
There's two
replace
criteria.
the telecommunications tower that's at the sheriff's department
It's a upgrade.
with an upgrade,
It's
an
repair.
existing tower. Okay, that might be a little different, but, the kind of, the devil's in the details.
Yeah, and there's also a difference between utility poles and utility services and towers.
I understand.
And some people see it kind of gray, but there are delineations, and I can define those. But the second item is a true tower, which would fall under the special use. It would have historic preservation, EPA, archaeology, geotech, all of the stuff that comes with a regular tower. The reason that it is helpful when we partner with emergency communications is that there are also, the opportunity to say, well, this is allowed use on the basis of the emergency communication system requires it. It needs this. So we're doing the same thing down in Hendry County as well. Very, very similar, sharing land leases and tower space under the same criteria. I didn't want to get into the second item without finishing with the first, but they kind of got mixed, so I apologize. So that would be the sheriff's office. The intention would be to use the utility pole. We don't want to go to the tower there. The second item is it would technically be a 195-foot tower. And the reason it's 195 foot is that meets the criteria that they would need for the radio systems as well as what we would need for sending broadband utility service.
Mhm.
That would be a tower that's able to be multi-tenant. It would be able to expand access to cell phone use as well in that region that is kind of spotty. The other reason it's 195 feet and not 250 is because the FAA studies on that would allow it to not have to have a beacon light on it unless a helicopter pad or something were installed there. So it reduces the potential for light pollution.
There is a helicopter pad there.
What's that?
There is a helicopter pad there.
At 138?
Not
at
one,
that one.
the
There's a
sheriff's,
helicopter.
sheriff's department.
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct. Yep.
What we're looking for today is, one, we'd like to be able to work with, Romer, because it'll help the county as far as cost, and it will help, Romer as well get some position in. What we'd like to do, if the board would agree, or for us to move forward, we can move forward on these and working out a proper contract with a proper wording that would meet the state guidelines and the grant guidelines, and we could bring those back to the board. If we could come up with item 1, which is the monopole, just a straight pole, because we're replacing an existing tower, that is the one that we would like to try to get done the quickest. Just simple reason being is we have some equipment we'd like to get on there for our new radio system as well too, that we've already bought, that would enhance that radio system as well. So if we could get a motion to be able to move forward today, and if on item 1, the monopole, if we were able to get that one worked out, since there's some things we need to look at based on its replacing a tower that's there now and not a new tower, that maybe as staff and with the attorney agreeing with the language, we could go ahead and try to get that one worked out and move forward. And then, of course, the one on item 2, we could definitely, that's going to have to come back, because that's a full self-supporting tower, and it will have to come back.
Yes, the next step would be to build the entire package with all of the permits that come with that.
On item 2.
Really, we're just looking for preliminary, yes, if this is otherwise approved by all the other agencies involved, then we could move forward with it. Because it is costly to get all of that work done, and we are grant funded, so that's a waste of taxpayers' dollars if I go, do those other engineering studies and things like that. So just looking for a more of a yes, please do that than an opportunity.
Have you participated in an item 1 type proposal with another agency
We've built these before.
on
We have some-
public property with an exchange for use of the space?
Yes, so my partner's entity down in Hendry County is doing the exact same thing, and they are in process as well.
If you could provide me with that paperwork as to how they coordinated that, that would be real helpful
Okay, I can,
in expediting the thing and replacing the tower.
yeah, I can look at, theirs is gonna be a little bit different, unfortunately, just different county and different criteria. So I'll see what is relevant.
Okay.
All right.
Motion to move forward with the project at the jail house.
All right, we got a motion to move forward with the monopole, pole at the sheriff's office. Is there a second?
Second.
Can we approve in that moving forward with item 2, and item 2 will be coming back to the board?
Yes.
Okay.
So much.
Yes.
Was that item 1, you mean?
Sorry.
Item 1, you mean?
Well, item 1 would be, we could go ahead and move forward
That's what
if
we're
we can
approving
work out
today,
the
item
contract.
1.
Item 2, we want to know that it's okay to go ahead and be working on the contract, and we'll bring all that back.
Right. My only question, is this gonna be all the, here ringing, is this gonna be all the towers we need to get our emergency broadcast system up and going?
Oh, it's up and going.
I knew it was up and going, but is this just enhancing what we've already got then? Is that what that is, this is? 'Cause
Yeah.
I thought when we
Mr.
put it
Smith
up,
will
it
come.
was, we already had the poles we needed. So this is just gonna be to make it even better?
So Ralph Smith, Emergency Management. So getting the pole at the sheriff's office would get us on the primary system. Currently, today, we're operating on the backup system of the new equipment. The antenna at the sheriff's office will not support the 3-foot dish that we need to put up, which is the reason why we're asking to put the new pole up at the sheriff's office.
Okay. So it's to improve what we already got?
Yes.
And do a better job? All right, I'm all for that. So we have a motion then to, move forward on the monopole and to let us move, forward on getting the tower agreement written up so it can be brought back to to us. We got a motion by Commissioner Thomas, a second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion carries.
Mr.
Thank you
Chair,
very much.
just want a clarification. Is the item one subject to attorney approval of the contract? Was that,
Yes. Yes.
was that what we were? Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
But we have one more
I
item
hope
with
this will
him.
be good for all involved.
We've got
We
one
have
more.
one more, Robin.
All right, let's do the next.
We've recently agreed to a rental, on Southeast 70th and, which other tower was it? The Southeast 70th tower?
The Bellevue,
This is the,
it's the AT&T.
this is 340 here.
I'm sorry. The AT&T tower up on 129, I'm sorry.
And this is the Roy.
And this is the Royster Tower on 340. This one here will be a month-to-month at $500 per month. It is for a 10-year term. There is possibility that he would need to get out of this. There's language in here that would allow him to get out of this in a couple of years. So we're going to do this one by month-to-month. So if we just get approval to move forward with the tower lease agreement at $500 per month, payable in advance on a month-to-month basis, on the 340 tower.
We have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we're gonna move forward with the lease agreement for $500 a month. We've got a motion by Commissioner Thomas, second by Commissioner Langford. All those in favor?
Quick question, the rent amount is similar to what we're doing with other entities?
It's the same amount, but on the other two, he's paying us in full for the 10 years. And on this one, it's a
advance.
month-to-month in advance, yes.
And we were afraid on this one because of the fact that Royster, we're leasing the tower,
Yeah.
the real estate where the tower's located, that if something changed, we couldn't very well collect 10 years worth of rent in advance and then something fall out from under.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. The next item I have, is with Locklear and Associates Task Order. I think, yeah, there's Mr. John Locklear right there. Mr. Locklear and them was, very nice to, provide us with an evaluation of the Spring Ridge subdivision road system. For that, you had pointed Mr. Commissioner Tommy Langford to represent that particular project on behalf of the board. Mr. Langford and I met with, Mr. Locklear, and we asked him for a proposal. It looks like the best, proved method for repairing this road, and this would do all the roads within the subdivision, would be with the chip and seal, on this. And what we're looking at doing is entering into a, scope of services with Locklear, and this would be for, the scope of work for the design part, and also the bid process, collecting all the bids and evaluating the bids, and then providing a report back to the board on what he received on those bids. The amount of that process is $10,000. I do want to let you know, the 55-page report that Locklear did, they actually did that for us at no charge. So they already did a lot of work up front, as well, but I thought it would be good to mention that they did that at no charge. But since they've done this, the other, part of the evaluation, we feel like it'd be really good to just go on in and let them finish up the bid packet for the scope of work, carry it out for bid, and we will, from after that point, we'll bring it all back and report to the board. And like I said, Mr. Locklear's here if you got any questions. And they are on a continual contract.
Okay.
Locklear.
Mr. Locklear? Are they gonna be fixing just the parts that are terrible, or are they gonna be redoing everything?
No, so we looked at both options, and I think we agreed, after meeting with Commissioner Langford and Mr. Crosby, that we didn't want to do a patch job. We wanted to do the whole thing. There are some areas that are going to require more work than others, some subgrade prep before you get to the chip and seal process, and that'll be part of the bid also. The bid will have to be, as some companies don't that do chip and seal don't do that, so we may have to have them sub that out, but it'll be all inclusive. So the idea is that the entirety of the subdivision will be redone through the chip and seal.
So at the end, everybody in the Spring Ridge subdivision and us are gonna go, whoo, man, look at this great road.
That's
And
the
everybody's
idea.
gonna be happy. That's what we're looking for.
That is the idea.
All right, how, do you have a time limit on how this should move so they can know when to expect something happening?
I would say give us a couple of weeks to put the bid package together, and then we need to go out for advertisement for a couple of weeks, figure out, whatever your procurement process is. You're probably looking at least a month and a half before you get the bid back.
It's about,
And then,
August?
I would say you should, if all goes well, you should have a contractor, and assuming proceed in that route, you would have a contract in place by August. Yeah.
All right.
That's the,
All right.
Yeah, real, go ahead.
Well, I know Mr. Lee, and I know y'all have an email or Facebook group. If you'll just, let the citizens know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if he's done, yeah, you can come on up and you can speak. All right,
Just
thank
keep
you very
them, keep
much.
them
We certainly
informed
do
if y'all
appreciate
will.
it.
Just keep the citizens informed out there if y'all will.
absolutely. Yeah, we have a Facebook, Jim Meredith, Gilchrist County, Spring Ridge area, property owner there. Yes. We will. We'll keep them informed, through Facebook, through social media. We also have a web presence that, we can reactivate if we need for that purpose. I think you have a presentation real quick. I'm gonna go through this quickly, because there's not a whole lot of need. You've committed to, take care of the problem with the roads in Spring Ridge, and we do appreciate that. If you would go ahead. There we go. Okay. If you would go ahead and advance to the next slide. Do we have a clicker or? That's okay. I'll just say when to go. What we're starting, the situation that we have and what we want to make sure is addressed with the repairs that are going to be made is that we do end up with roads that, are in agreement with what we, initially worked out with the county, on how the roads would be. What I've got on the, screen right now, is the text from, before the first, petition was signed by any of our neighbors. We did a lot of research. We went to Taylor County. We looked at the folks there. They have been doing roads like this for 20 years. We got that information. Mr. Crosby and Lee and myself, we had conversations. We went through all this and we said, okay, what will be the definition of the completion of the project? And what you see on the screen right now is that. Can you back up? Is that we would remove the blacktop surface, have a compacted 6-inch thick base layer. Also the millings that would be put down would be put in a 4-inch thick layer and everything that you see on the screen. Go ahead and advance to the next slide. The core samples that were done through Locklear and through Universal Engineering Services, basically they represent what the roads are right now. Go ahead and advance if you would. The first thing, the compacted 6-inch thick base layer. That is the one thing that we talked about, has been mentioned in these meetings all along. If we don't have that, the roads will not hold up. It has been drilled into our heads from the very beginning. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Right now, based on the core samples that were taken in the engineering study, the roads that have those samples right there do not include that 6-inch lime rock base, which is a real concern. And that would have to be addressed before anything chip seal or anything else like that is put on top. Next issue, if you would. 4-inch thick layer. The 4-inch thick layer of millings that would be put on top is something that, in a conversation with Hank Evans out in Taylor County, where they've been doing roads like this for 20 years, he said you have to have a 4-inch layer. If not, it will not hold up. We brought that information back. Mr. Crosby and Lee and myself had a meeting, and he said, okay, we'll go with that. That's, if they know that's necessary, we'll do that. Next slide, please. Right now, the roads that you see identified with the yellow lines there have the core samples that currently do not have 4 inches of milling on them. Now, the question we have regarding this, okay, so actually, first of all, if you take all the roads that don't have the 6 inches of base and or all of those that don't have at least 4 inches of milling, that is 60% of Spring Ridge as it is right now that does not have roads constructed to the specifications that was worked out between the county and us. Right, next slide. The concern we had when we saw this letter, this was the letter that was sent to the county, there was this statement in the letter: chip seal, also known as chip seal, was determined to be the preferred methodology. We were wondering, preferred by whom? Because we were wondering if chip seal itself would be creating that 6-inch compacted base, or whether it would take care of the 4-inch top layer. And I mean, we know the answer to both of those questions is chip sealing alone will not take care of those problems. So I'm glad to hear that there's going to be more than just putting chip seal on top of what's existing there. Okay. If chip seal was the only thing we were doing, we'd still have 60% of our roads that don't meet the agreed on specifications. There were a few other things that were in the original language. I'm just going to touch on them real quick. When this was specified, it was said that the millings would be grinded to consistent size, blended with an emulsion, applied by a paving machine with heat, and wet compacted. Actually, none of these things happened. Now, the thing is, Lee and I are not road experts. We have never paved a road. We don't know about road paving, but we have to rely on the information that's given to us on what will be done in the project. And the emulsion, we were told, we had a conversation about that, and I believe he went to an engineer, and they said, well, it's not required for this type of work. The paving machine with heat, the roads were laid with coal. There was no propane burners on it. They were like coal. Wet compacted, the compacting was dry. They had 3 compactors out there, roller compactors. No water was used. They were dry compactors. What is in the box right there is what the pledge that was made, the agreement that was made between the county and then between the people who, 71, almost 72% of Spring Ridge residents who signed a petition and said, we want to go forward with this project. It is my hope and prayer that what we end up with through this effort will get us roads that are compliant with that.
We're hoping so too.
And the chip and seal will be better than the milling, so it'll be.
So, thank you, Mr. Jim. I appreciate you and Lee and all that you've done to help us get to where we are. I would appreciate Mr. Locklear maybe addressing some of those questions.
Yeah, what I would recommend in this scenario, and I appreciate that information, is that the board allow us to bring back a draft of the bid specifications and drawings, share them with anyone that wants to see them and have input on them, and make sure we're all happy with what those bid specifications are, and then put it back to the reporter. But I know what we're going to be getting back and what the road would look like under that design. But the board, like I said, I think that would probably be the best way to, and I'm happy to meet separately with anyone that you would like me to as we go through the process, however you'd like me to proceed.
And I would like, that to be shared with Mr. Jim and Mr. Lee also.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that'll be I think that's a good recommendation, because there's a lot of, there's a lot of different things that's gonna go into this scope of work. And maybe that's what we need to do is let's get the bid package written. It'll have the scope of work. That can be brought back to the board to see exactly what's gonna happen before we go out to bid. Everyone will be able to see that before we go out to bid, and they'll know what the finished project should be like.
No surprises.
Yeah.
That's what I would recommend.
Yep.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
When all is said and done, what should be the life expectancy on the roads, that we end up with here?
Good question. So, Mr. Locklear, can you help us with that? We want the long term, basically.
I think typically you see a life expectancy, and I say life expectancy is a degradation curve. And you can see in Swanee County and Taylor County and other places, if it's done properly, you're looking at 7, 8, 9 years before you start seeing significant degradation on chip and seal. Whereas a conventional road, full brand new asphalt, it's about 10 to 15, depends on. All that's highly variable based on traffic, the types of vehicles that are on it, and all.
Is there anything you can do at year 5 or 6 or whatever
Can.
to make it last longer?
Correct. You can come back and resurface that, and you can seemingly, that's a great thing. You can stretch it out further if you do proactive maintenance of the road system. And we can put that into the bid document. We can give you some anecdotal evidence from other counties in terms of durability of the roads, so you can take a look at that. We included that in our original report, just in terms of some very general timeframes, like expectancy for the 4 different processes that we looked at.
So I would like to see, we've got preferred, because I think that's gonna be the most economical, but we're also very, longer term solution is a major goal for us as well. And I'm sure the residents in Spring Ridge. So I don't know how the best way to do it, but at least I think we should consider, the other longer term options as well.
I think if I may, Mr. Chair, I don't disagree that there is a balance between the cost and the life expectancy. Ballpark, we were talking millions versus $500,000. The conventional, asphalt paving versus this process. We could, if the board would like us to, it would be a much more involved process. We could put out a bid for a conventional paving and then an alternate for this, so that you could get real hard numbers for those two, but that's gonna take me longer and it's gonna cost me more money, which I'm happy to do. But that's up to the board.
From what I've seen of conventional paving, that's not in our budget right now. But we do want to give them a good road that's going to last as long as possible, but to lay virgin asphalt down is not in what I've seen of our budget for what we plan on doing, and they know that. We told them from the beginning it wasn't going to be virgin asphalt, it was going to be some kind of chip and seal method, and they agreed to that. There were no problems. And I think if we get their specifications with the lime rock base and the 4-inch top, and it rolled when it's supposed to be, and it's got the emulsions, the emulsifiers in there, that they're gonna see a road that's gonna be really nice. And I think will probably last longer even than what you're saying, because this is in a subdivision. It's not a major road that you got semis and milk trucks and rock trucks and dump trucks running up and down. You've got mainly about the only truck you're gonna have is gonna be maybe a 250 type truck rolling up and down it. And so that would have helped include, and if people keep their speed limit down, that of course is gonna be, and they're not, spinning around corners and stuff, all those things makes it last longer. And from what we've seen, Spring Ridge is a nice, quiet subdivision, so maybe they're gonna get a whole lot more years out of it. And 8-10 years down the road, we need to come down and reseal it, then that's something we can do to give them more years out of it, because we want to give them a good road.
In Taylor County, we saw that on some of the roads, we looked at several roads there. We looked at roads that had been done using, milled asphalt that were almost brand new. We saw some that were 7 years old, and we even saw one that was 20 years old. And the roads that were 7 years old, would right now be better than a lot of the roads that are in Spring Ridge today. 7 years, and they hadn't done any additional maintenance at that point, and they had log trucks, big loaded log trucks running up and down some of these roads where they are. So going with the recommendations and the 4-inch top coating on the solid 6-inch base, I mean, from that showed us that this was a good option. But right now we don't have that. You know, we're not wanting, like I've said so often, we're not wanting to, get a steak for a hamburger price, but right now we've got a half-eaten hot dog, so.
Okay, all right, we're gonna work on it.
All right.
All right, what's the board wanna do with the Locklear Associates task order to we move forward with that? Is that?
Motion, move forward with Locklear.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second to move forward with Locklear and Associates on a task order for the Spring Ridge Road. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
And we'll bring that back at the bid packet back at a later meeting, once completed, and then we can review it in a meeting.
Okay.
Quick question, Bobby, the special assessment that they agreed to, how much will that contribute to the road overall? I mean, is that 500,000 or 600,000, or do you remember?
531,000 or something like that was what the original amount was. Don't hold me right to that. I'm trying to.
I think there's some confusion in the question. So the special assessment that was paid for the original project.
Yeah.
So that money's already spent.
Okay, but I guess what I'm saying is they've got a major investment in the road, and which was whatever it was. And I understand we were trying to get by as cheap as we could. We were using county lime rock and milling, and so as we move forward, we got to think about that.
Yes.
Okay.
Lee's got a question.
You can come up and tell us your name if you want real quick. I'll give you 3 minutes.
Lee Schultz, Grand Spring Ridge. I just have one question. This has been brought up before, and I don't think you guys were in favor of it, but now there was a question of whether the problem was with the millings or with the contractor. We now know, based on their research, that the problem was from the contractor. The incorrect depths of the millings and the lime rock and the surface, all the other things that was mentioned here, they all fall on the contractor. Are you still standing by the fact that you're not gonna go after the guarantee that he gave you?
Can't answer that right now. We just found this information out today, so.
I just want to bring it to your attention because it was mentioned, well, maybe it was the millings.
I understood when he was talking about it, but.
Maybe it was the millings, maybe it was the, the work, but y'all didn't seem to be interested at the time. But he pointed out to you, there was a lot of things that he did not do.
Lee, I think it's a lot of board's fault too for not having an engineer look over the job. So
I would agree.
I'm not gonna put it all on Jerry. I take part of the blame for us not doing what we're supposed to. And it's a learning process for us.
Well, you're trying to fix it now, but I don't know. I don't think he should be left, out of the picture, but that's up to y'all.
All right, thank you. All right. Yeah, how are you? Come on up.
I just want to follow up on what Mr. Fulton just referenced. This is something that's been kind of near and dear to my heart. And I understand that what you're saying is a learning process and what have you, but when we talked about this in the past, we said that warranty was effective a year from the date of the final payment, which was last October. We're already talking about moving into August before we even find out what's going on. So I would really like the board to reconsider and review this information, because this money is going to fall back on the taxpayers completely at this point. There's no reference. It's not about the contractor per se being the individual that it is. It's about the contract that was written and the warranty that was guaranteed in that. And if we are not going to follow up on this because we don't want to put it in litigation or whatever it might be, my concern there is, how are we going to prevent this issue with other contractors? And if we, I mean, it's said to be an upstanding person. I don't know him as an individual. I have no idea. I've never dealt with him or had any work done by him. But this board and several members of the audience back when, I want to say it was maybe October, November, when I brought this forward before, said what a reputable individual he is, a stand-up man, what have you. The board has not even given this individual the opportunity to come forward and rectify the problem with the fact that it's now been presented that it could have been workmanship issues. So I have an issue with that. It hasn't even been presented to him. The other issue I have with this is that if he were to push back against all of this, then as a board, what are you all doing red flagging these individuals that put something out for contract? We go ahead and move forward with the contract, and now they're not going to follow up on the warranty that was built within that contract. So the time is still ticking because the last payment was issued in October, which personally I don't think should have been. But the time is still ticking, and if in fact it is brought forward to the contractor, we should give him the opportunity to make it right. And if they push back, then we need to set the example that they are going to be right. And that's all I have. Thank you.
So just a real quick comment, Tammy. I don't know if you've read the report from Mr. Locklear, but he actually evaluated the cause. And he said the data collected did not allow us to definitively determine the cause of degradation. Assigning blame to any one factor would be purely subjective.
But when we were going through the PowerPoint presentation, it did not appear to be so. So I'm just asking the board.
That's a great
I
question.
understand what they say, to review it again because it is going to cost the taxpayers a lot of money. And I'm not up here pushing back against the fact that Spring Ridge shouldn't have their road. 100% Spring Ridge should have their road.
I think you got a great concern, but it gets into the fact we can hire experts. Mr. Locklear is one of the experts. And then you could work through the legal process potentially, and you still end up, we put all the money in to hire the legal experts. And we can decide, we want to spend the county money and our taxpayer money as best we can. But you can also take the approach of hiring these experts and end up, you can get an expert say different things. You get into court, the administrative law judge says, we rule in favor of this person, and then you're still out 50 or 75,000 or 100,000.
Yes,
So
sir.
my approach is let's work on solutions here.
And I agree, but respectfully, I am very familiar with civil litigation and kind of how the process works and how much money can be thrown at it. But we haven't even, and correct me if I'm wrong, we haven't even presented this back to the contractor at all with the information that was just read. I'm a lay person. I'm not standing up
I
here
am
and
the same
telling
way.
you that I have, all this knowledge on roads and what have you. But I think I'm somewhat intelligent, and just after listening to everything that was said, it leaves, go back to the experts, and if that's what the board chooses to do, that's fine. But I'm not saying litigate it, but we haven't even presented it back to the contractor. And again, my concern is the time is ticking. So if it were to come back to that, we're looking at October is the end date. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention and express my concern.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. All right,
Yes, sir. My next item is under emergency management. It is the disaster recovery and mitigation consulting agreement. This is a contract with Synergy Disaster Recovery LLC. They're one of the firms that we chose. We'll have a contract on the second firm here in the near future. They were chosen by a bid process, and we have been working on the contract for several months, and you had already approved them through the bid process. We just need to approve the contract, and this contract has been reviewed and also approved by Mr. Lang.
Motion to approve.
All right, we got a motion to approve the, recovery and mitigation consulting agreement. Is there a second?
Second.
Got a second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right.
The next item I have is, the comprehensive emergency management plan. Mr. Smith worked with, getting this plan put together with one of our contractors. The plan came to the board and then it has to go to the state. The state has reviewed the plan and the state has gave their blessings and approved the plan. But after the state approves it, we're required to approve it by resolution. I'm going to read the resolution by title. It's Resolution 2024-18, a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Gilchrist County, Florida, adopting the Gilchrist County Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan.
Motion to approve resolution 2024-18.
All right, got a motion by Commissioner Langford
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Smith to approve resolution 2024-18. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
The next item is a vehicle purchase. This is a purchase of a 2024 Chevrolet 2500 series from Big Ben. The cost is $53,878.50. We also checked with Alan J. Fleet Sales, who has the Sourcewell contract, and on the Sourcewell contract from them, a work truck vehicle like this was $55,000. So Big Ben with assistance from GM is a little cheaper. The way we are proposing to purchase this, the funding to be used to purchase the vehicle are from grant funded departments. The tourist development part would be $20,000. Emergency management part would be $30,878.50. The reason we're wanting to split the purchase of this vehicle this way is tourist development and emergency management split a vehicle a few years back. The vehicle, Miss Donna has gotten a lot busier in her travels, so she is mainly using the tourist development vehicle. So by paying for half of this one, that would make that vehicle in her department all the time. Of course, doesn't mean another department couldn't share it or use it in time of storm or need. And then emergency management would pay the other part. We still need the tourist development group doesn't meet till Thursday, but they do because of the way the meetings are set up. Well, we're going ahead and bringing it to the board. The tourist development would need to approve it on Thursday when they meet.
So the vehicle we currently have would go to tourist development. The new truck would go to emergency management.
Yes,
And the truck that emergency management has would go to the road department?
that is correct. That's a 2020 Chevrolet. The road department has one of the old ambulances, 2005 Ford F-150. They spent over $4,000 on already this year, and now the transmissions went out. And then they have another vehicle that they use to pull a lot of their larger equipment. It's also went out. So they're down two vehicles. What they're thinking they can do, and they can do this, our mechanic can do this, is we can take the transmission out of one of the two broke down vehicles and put in another one and maybe get that one back going. And then this will also give them a good truck to pull the other equipment. And the other thing about this truck, it already has the emergency lighting on it. So if they're stopped beside the road working or whatever, to have the lighting. And also this way, it wouldn't be any cost to the road department either, just be transferring it to the road department.
I spoke to Rodney, road superintendent earlier, and he said that, this is something that he would, he needs this in his department because we have that asphalt zipper that we should be getting in a couple of weeks. We have the skid steer, and then we have that new excavator that we bought. And, we need a good, heavy duty truck to pull those with. And then also called Richard earlier and asking him, was this in the emergency management, budget? And, he said it was in their budget. And then he, told me also what was in the TDC budget, which is, way, which will cover it, because there's quite a bit in the TDC, budget right now. And, we just, getting the asphalt zipper and we're getting the, excavator, we have to have something to, pull this equipment with. And it's something that was in our budget also.
All right,
Make a motion to approve the purchase.
all right, we got a motion to approve a new, 2024 Chevrolet 2500. Is there a second?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
as part of that motion, could that include that we're waiving our bidding procedure because it's below,
Because it's below what?
it's below the
bid.
contract price?
All right, is that okay with you, Mr.
That's good.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
And then also subject to, approval from TDC for the funding.
Okay, okay. So we have a motion to, buy a new, 2024 Chevrolet 2500 pickup truck, upon agreement with the tourist development for their part of it. And, what was the other thing?
And the TDC, they get their money from the bed tax for people who are in campgrounds or motels, so.
And this was already in the budget for emergency
Yes.
management anyway.
Mhm.
So we have a motion. Is there a second?
Yeah, second.
All right, we got a motion by Commissioner Thomas and a second, and second by Commissioner Smith. Question?
Ray Roush of Rock Bluff. That's a 3/4 ton, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Why don't you buy a 1 ton? You're gonna be pulling a heavy trailer with a bobcat on it and all this equipment? I wouldn't go there, that's a 1 ton pickup with dual wheels. Gonna be more money, but you're gonna kill a 3/4 ton truck pulling that equipment.
Well, I hope
Thank
when they are able to take the transmission from the one truck and move it into the other truck, isn't that a larger truck? Isn't that a 450? Yeah, that's the one they're gonna pull most of their real big equipment with, I would
Right.
assume.
Yeah, it's a
Correct?
heavier truck.
So the bigger, the truck they have that they're gonna repair with the two, take the two and make one good truck, is a heavier truck. It's a 4500, and it can pull pretty much whatever you need to put behind it as long as
That
it's.
one you can.
Yes, and then, so this other truck will not be pulling the heaviest of the equipment, it may be used for pulling
You
up.
understand where I'm coming from?
Yes, I see exactly where you're coming from, I have a 2500, I would not wanna hook a skid steer to it and pull it around very far anyway.
I've seen it done, but it's not good.
Oh, yeah, it's not good for the vehicle either. All right, so we have a motion and a second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Yes, sir. The next item I have is under community development. This is a resolution 2024-13. This is the one that we tabled at our last board meeting. I will read it by title only. A resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Gilchrist County, Florida, amending the fee schedule to applicants to be charged by the Gilchrist County Community Development Building and Zoning Department. This is the new fees for planning and zoning, and as we stated before, our basic fees for zoning for a home and written determinations, those fees have not changed. It's just mainly if somebody's doing a subdivision or large developments that it's changed.
We talked about this last time.
Mhm.
Did you get any additional information, Mr. Smith?
I did talk with, different people and, at this point, I didn't get any, not do it kind of comments. And if anybody here in the audience that, has any input on this, these are rates that North Florida Professional is charging, right?
Yes, it mirrors their rates.
Which is similar to other counties.
From what I found out is actually less than what other counties are charging. So,
Well,
a lot of them.
most of the change is related to, as you mentioned, commercial, bigger development, right?
Yes.
And at the last meeting, we did have a contractor, that did speak and he did say that this was,
Being reasonable.
yeah, reasonable.
All right,
So you need a motion.
yes, I need a motion for, 2024-13.
Yeah.
All right, got a motion by Commissioner Smith,
Second.
a second by Commissioner Langford to approve resolution number 2024-13. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? All right, Mr. Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have an interlocal agreement before you, first thing on my attorney report. This is an interlocal agreement between the Board of County Commissioners, the City of Trenton, and the Town of Bell, Florida, concerning duties of the building official, as specifically it pertains to regulating floodplain ordinances and regulations for FEMA. He's been doing this for quite some time. We're not sure exactly where the interlocal agreement has come from. So we're trying to clean up the information for FEMA personnel in Tallahassee. They want to see a copy of the interlocal agreement. I ran this by our building official. He has approved it. City of Trenton is going to be approving it, as well as the Town of Bell. So with that being said, right now the trade-off with the building official is they provide that services for the municipalities of Trenton and Bell in return for receipt and keeping the building permit fees that go along with that. So it's worked out very well, I think, over the past several years. And this will officially formalize that and supersede any earlier interlocal agreement that we might have had.
All right, we have a motion to approve the local agreement.
So moved.
All right, we got a motion by Commissioner Langford, second by Commissioner Thomas, to approve the local agreement between the Town of Bell, the Town of Trenton, and the county. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
The next issue that I have coming up is the interlocal agreement regarding draft number 4 for the local workforce development area 26. And it's an agreement between Alachua, Bradford, Columbia, Dixie, Gilchrist, Union counties. I've got 2 different forms up there. This is a little more complicated than what the last interlocal agreement that we approved was. The governor is required that they consolidate workforce area region 7 with workforce region 9. One of those is Bradford and Alachua County. The other encompasses us. And Alachua County wanted to take the reins and be the fiscal agent and run the show, and be the payment personnel and that sort of thing. And they actually drafted an interlocal agreement that they were going to present to Governor DeSantis for his approval. And Mr. Guy Norris, who represents the local workforce development board, and myself and several of the other county attorneys have had Zoom conferences about this. And he was so kind as to go ahead and draft us a counter proposal that we can present to Governor DeSantis at the same time, and let the governor make his choice on which interlocal agreement he thinks serves the community best. You might recall that this is the Crown Workforce.
Right.
They have an office over in Old Town.
Yep.
They have one in Lake City. They train people to get jobs, specific jobs. They do a lot of things. Your commissioner, your appointed representative, Ms. Sharon Langford, sitting down there at the end. She has a lot more expertise in this than I do, but she's caused me to gain a great education over the last month in dealing with this, and I've learned a lot. But anyway, I've given you the comparison version. Has well, that's the one we want you to pass right there. The one just above that is the comparison version. Mr. Norris set that out. The black letter writing is the proposed draft we want you to enact. The green letters with the strike through, that's the proposal that Alachua County actually prepared. And so when you go through that, if you had an opportunity to review your package in any detail, I think that green letter version is 43 pages or 45 pages. Our final clean version of the interlocal agreement is some 24 pages. But it more or less behooves the rural counties as opposed to Alachua County taking the reins. And I think part of the argument was that they thought they had more expertise and they could handle that. They already had departments that were set up, and of course,
I'm sure there was money involved in it too.
oh, absolutely. They would be, well, fiscal agent will be determined by the one vote per county. This is kind of a funny situation. The elected official from each of the counties is the consortium. But then you have these local workforce boards that are set up percentage-wise based on population to administer the money that the consortium approves that comes down through federal grants and then is administered through the state of Florida to the different, folks. Well, if you, don't get an even vote on any of that stuff, you don't have quite the representation that is what the county, folks felt like. And I can understand Alachua County as well, because they do have the majority of the population that's involved. But in any event, my recommendation to the board is to approve the, interlocal agreement that is black line that immediately follows this, green and black version that I've got there before you. That was more or less for information. So you can put that up there, Caitlin. That's the one we want you to approve right there. It's an interlocal agreement regarding local workforce development area 26 between the Alachua County Board of County Commissioners, the Bradford County Board of County Commissioners, the Columbia County Board of County Commissioners, the Dixie County Board of County Commissioners, the Gilchrist County Board of County Commissioners, and the Union County Board of County Commissioners. And that's reading by title only.
Motion to approve the interlocal agreement draft number 4, which is listed on the screen at this time.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Langford and a second by Commissioner Smith to approve the interlocal agreement draft 4. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
I appreciate the board doing that. I know Mr. Norris will as well, because they have to have this in at the governor by July the 1st.
And thank y'all for
Thank you
all the
for-
attorneys getting together and working on this. We appreciate y'all.
Looking out for us.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
It's been fun for me too, Mr. Lang.
We're glad you're representing us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been fun.
I think I asked Mr. Smith if he wants to start serving in your place, Sharon, and I would think that you can
He's
talk
doing
him
a
into
great
doing
job.
that after I told him what you've had to deal with.
A lot.
All right, we'll go to the clerk's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First item is a budget recap through May 30th. General revenue, we've seen year-to-date expenditures of $13,663,000 versus revenues of $14,670,000. In the fire department, we've seen year-to-date expenditures of $865,000 versus revenues of $1,034,000. In transportation, we've seen year-to-date expenditures of $1,663,000 versus revenues of $1,308,000. In EMS, we've had year-to-date expenditures of $1,875,000 versus revenues of $1,360,000. You'll notice a large jump in EMS. That's due to the ambulance, the 2 ambulances that have been received. So that was an additional $449,000 since your last report. Of course, that was budgeted and expected, so nothing to be of real concern there. In solid waste, we've had year-to-date expenditures of right at $710,000 versus revenues of $1,448,000. You'll notice in solid waste, our revenues are up considerably, and that's primarily due to services, people basically coming to pay for it. Yeah, tipping scales. If there's any questions,
Anything that concerns you?
still keeping an eye on transportation. We're going to continue to see that. We've purchased the zipper. I believe be coming in this month. So again, we'll just have to keep our eye on that. But other than that, everything seems to be pretty much where we would expect it at this point.
Yeah. Mr. Newton, you gave a presentation at Rotary not too long ago. And one of the things that was interesting to me that over 50% of our budget is the revenue from federal and state sources, basically funds our budget.
That's correct.
Which to me means we've been successful with going after grant money and getting grant money. And so even though we're buying new vehicles or doing new things, new buildings, we wouldn't be able to do those things without that grant money.
That's correct.
And so I should have known that, but I didn't know that it was that much. Over 50% comes from federal and state sources.
Yes, sir.
We have a great crew that runs down every grant that's out there that we could apply for. They do a great job. I know EMS does a great job of getting grants and finding those things out, and they're the ones that help save us a lot of money by getting grant money to purchase all these things we've been purchasing. And all this equipment and, how are the new ambulances? Would you like to just real quick, tell us how the ambulances are going? I'm sorry, this is off agenda a little
It's
bit,
all right.
but
Chief County Fire Rescue, new ambulance was put in service just before Memorial Day weekend. We traveled on Monday to Texas, got back about Wednesday afternoon, when myself and Director Smith, added the radio, computer mounts, and little things like that. If you know, when we bought those trucks, we bought them under a limited edition package to where they built them to their spec and didn't make a lot of adjustments. If we did, that would have been a larger cost for us. About 30 hours into a fully long road, pretty level. Minor things that we found on them have been small so far. They've sent a tech out and already taken a look at maybe adjusting the doors so they get a little dust in some of the clean that maybe powder dust that we've got out here without any rain. Everything else is working great on them. The crews like them. And I would say by going through those trucks and actually seeing how they were built when we added the radios and whatnot to them, they are very well constructed. And they did everything they said they were going to do.
all right, very good. Good, glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that.
I've seen them quite a few times on the road.
I have too.
One
Mr.
of-
Cro- Talking about grants, Mr. Crosby, when is the next time we submit for the scrap and scop for the roads?
It's like December,
Did you say, okay?
November, December, yeah.
So,
One of the things this weekend that, happened, I thought, everything's gotta work out perfectly with ambulances, but we had a couple of vehicle accidents, and one of the accidents, you can only put one stretcher in each ambulance, but the compartment's a little bit larger, so one of the people that was in the accident also was in the same vehicle, but they were able to ride in a seatbelt, so they were able to transport two patients with one ambulance because it was a larger compartment instead of sending two ambulances to Gainesville this weekend. So that was, that worked out very well too.
So Bobby, related to Scrap and Scott, the Small County Road Assistance Program. I noticed in the legislative appropriations, Gilchrist is in the $11 or $12 million this last session. If the governor doesn't veto that, and hopefully he won't. So what would that money go to help pay the repave?
The paving money, the DOT funds,
Right.
it'll go to two things. Some of it, a good portion of it will go to the state level, which is your State Road 26, your US 129,
47?
and 47. Those will be a part of that funds the state. And the other would be your local county roads.
Like the Dixie
the
grade?
339 that we have submitted. Now, I know Dixie grade is coming up to be funded, should be funded this year. I'm not sure about 339, and then there's some others also. And then, of course, we already have funding that we're working on now. I think the two grants I looked at today that we're currently working on is right at $10 million for two roads.
That's Gay Road and 138.
Gay Road and
And-
138, yeah.
That's widening 138 also.
Yeah.
And that's paving a dirt road, which is Gay Road, into, making it a pavement.
All right, you have a discussion on the meeting in June?
Yes, sir. It was brought to my attention that Mr. Crosby was not going to be able to be at our next meeting. Requesting that we cancel the 17th meeting. I'm going to be in Orlando at conference, and I have e-filing annual authority meeting as well as the CCOC annual meeting. So I was trying to figure out how I was going to do both things. And so requesting that we cancel that. I talked to Mr. Lang, and he does not have anything upcoming. And with Mr. Crosby being gone as well, I felt like it may not be.
The last week of June, we're all gonna be at the county commissioners, annual meeting in Orlando. So that week, we're gonna be busy for 4 days there, so.
Mhm.
So July 1 will be our next meeting.
So July 1st would be our next
And then if
meeting.
something comes up and we need to hold an emergency meeting, then get in touch with us.
Okay. All right, so our next meeting, will be July 1st. 4 o'clock. Is that okay? I mean, that's.
Yeah, that works great. Thank you.
All right, let's move on to, we don't have any time certains today, so we'll, ask for commissioner reports, Ms. Langford.
Yeah, I had somebody that contacted me about, the boat ramp out at Jenny. And she stated there was over 100 people that, used it over the Memorial Day weekend. And also, talked about, how Columbia County, they have a locking gate with a code that they give the citizens. That's something we might want to look into. But just so y'all know, I did have a complaint about the, amount of people using that boat ramp and it being very congested. And also she stated that there was a camper that had stayed there, during the weekend.
I got the same call.
Okay. Just making sure everybody's aware, you know,
I
what's
know
going on.
there at one time, we did put a gate up there and block that off, and the citizens raised so much devil that took it down.
Right, but maybe we could give the
But they-
citizens a code, maybe, a code like they, you know, do in Columbia County, she was saying. So I think Mr. Crosby said he would maybe, you're gonna look into, like, see how they do their code, with their code.
No, I'm afraid if you got a code and everybody in the county knows how to use it, are they gonna open and shut the gate each time? Or are they just gonna open the gate and leave and then it's gonna be open for the rest of the day, you know? It's not how people are about opening and shutting gates all the time when they go in.
Well, I know it's a
But maybe
citizen
we
out there
just-
that's complaining, so
Yeah,
maybe
and
they
it-
wouldn't
it's
abuse it.
probably not our citizens that are crowding the
Well,
boat ramp.
it's not, right,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what, yeah.
Okay.
So it's just something we need to maybe look into and see if there's any solutions to that.
All right.
I wouldn't mind closing it off here, because there ain't much to that boat ramp down there. We just let it go fishing area mainly. But I don't know how the citizens would take shutting it off like they did before.
Yeah, I don't know
Sounds to
about
me like
that,
the
yeah.
crowd wasn't putting boats in anyway. It's people going down there to
Stay
swim
in,
and,
swim and party.
yeah, and party down there. All right, Mr. Smith?
Bobby, we talked about tip and seal and bringing back some information related to what it costs compared to just Lime Rock roads and maintenance and all that. Can you and Mr. Rodney maybe bring back some information in July to?
Yes, Mr. Thomas and I has already actually spoke about it, so we plan to get together and have some information on July 1st.
So the idea was to look at some of the heavily traveled greater roads and see if it would be an economic way to improve those roads and also save money long-term on maintenance. Okay, thanks, sir.
All right, Mr. Thomas?
I have nothing.
I had a couple phone calls from some of the people that live out in Waukesha, and I don't know the answer to it. They were wondering if they knew how much longer all the roads were gonna be closed out there, because of the work they were doing. They said every day they seem to come in and out, and they got them coming in and out a different way, and they're having to turn around and drive back down to a different road and all that. Y'all have any information on their time schedule for, closing the roads and everything they're doing out there? Or?
They had told us about a week ago they should be through in a couple of weeks, so I know they're getting close to the southern end of that southeast
close.
80th Bar Road, which is, they've adjusted traffic through there depending on where they're at, but they were getting real close. So with the weather being as dry as it is, the rain shouldn't have held them up for sure, so.
Okay, so maybe a week and a half out?
We hope within the next week, yes, sir.
And I know they've been, you know, and running water trucks out there also because it's so dry and hopefully,
The dusting holding that,
yes,
the dust down?
and there's a couple people that'll let me know if it gets, you know, so if you hear, if somebody's calling you and it's real dusty, you need to get a hold of,
Complaining
Bobby
about the
Crosby.
dust. They were saying that they left in the morning and went one way, and when they come in that afternoon, that road had been closed and they had to go back around a different road to get back in that they're,
See, the only road they're closing is the Bar Road,
well,
so that's the only road they're
I
closing.
don't know exactly which road was closed, but she said every day she comes in, it's a different way to
Okay.
get back to her house. And I said, okay, I would see how much longer. I said, I don't think they will be a whole lot longer, but I'll see if I can get some information on that. So, anything else? All right, public participation. This is your chance at the end of the meeting. If you've got something to address with the board, we'd love to hear it. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn then?
I should do it, John.
All right, second? All right.